Hi Gen Bio, this is Dr. Fry, and I have the cross sections now of our Ammocoetes. So this is unfortunately the most rostral slice that I could find in all of the slides that I brought home. So it is not quite as far towards the head as figure 18 in your lab manual. So I need to refer you to that to see the brain and the eye and the carotid artery. Make sure you take a look at that figure. This one, like I said, is the most anterior that I could find, and it looks a lot more like figure 19. So we're a little bit a little bit behind the brain now, and you can see the spinal cord. So I'll start here. This is the spinal cord, and just ventral to that is the notochord. On either side, both of these are surrounded by muscles or myomeres. Okay, so here and here, all of that. And then on the ventral side, we've got our pharynx and the gills here. Okay, so these little fragments here, these are parts of the gills. Okay. All right, I will zoom in a little bit just so you can see that a little bit closer. One more step up. I like to point out that the notochord here looks a little bit like adipose tissue. If you remember from last semester, we were looking at our fat droplets, and I feel like it looks sort of like that. And of course, the spinal cord looks very much like what we looked at last semester. So let's go to our next caudal section, which will be here. Okay, and this looks a lot like figure 20 in your lab manual. Okay, so you should see the gills, the pharynx here. Of course, we have the notochord and spinal cord. These are surrounded by layers of muscle, the myomeres. And then we want you to know a few of the blood vessels. We aren't asking you to be responsible for all of them, but one of them is the dorsal aorta, and that is right here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit to show you that in more detail. So that is right here on the midline, and it's just ventral to the notochord. Okay, the dorsal aorta. Okay, I think that is it for this slice, this section. So we are going to go to the next most caudal section. And unfortunately, our slides are not always made as clearly as we would like. This one, if you notice, is actually upside down compared to the one we just looked at. This is the notochord. This is the spinal cord. So just to make things a little clearer for you, I'm going to just take a second and flip it so that everything is oriented the same as it was a minute ago. Okay, and here we are. All right, so again, obviously we've got lots of myomeres here. We've got our spinal cord, our notochord. On the ventral side now, in the abdomen region, we're looking at the intestine. And I'm going to zoom in to show you in more detail the kidneys and our dorsal aorta. So let me just clarify that a little bit. So here are the kidneys. The intestine is here. And the dorsal aorta is here on the midline. Okay. All right, and of course the notochord, spinal cord. All right, and I think there's one more tail section here that we should look at. Okay, so here is our spinal cord. Again, it looks pretty much the same. It's going to be running head to tail on the dorsal side of the organism. Just obviously it has to start just behind the brain. And then it'll be just dorsal to the notochord, again running throughout almost the entire length of the body. Now on the midline, the dorsal aorta has become the caudal artery. So that's what the pointer is on now. Okay, the caudal artery is a continuation of the dorsal aorta. Okay, and then just ventral to that is our caudal vein. Okay, so this is obviously returning blood now back to the heart, whereas the artery was taking blood away from the heart. Okay, and I will also mention the caudal fin. So there is a tail fin, the caudal fin, that wraps around the entire tail. So this is on the ventral side, and this would be the same fin on the dorsal side. This is the caudal fin. Okay, so it wraps around the entire tail, if you can picture that. All right, I think that's all of the anatomy that we would like you to be responsible for. Hopefully this is all clarifying things a little bit. And if you have any questions, you can always shoot me an email.